Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, today I will present about the topic in model of Islamic leadership in Islam from the perspective of Islamic scholars and Islamic youth leaders. Alright, my name is Irfan Azim bin Jamil. My metric number is 1191351. Alright, first introduction. In this increasingly challenging era of globalization, the obligation to preach has become a demand on every Muslim individual. Currents of change society, urging preachers to use affordable methods digested by society and indirectly bring about change. At the time, this globalization, which has many challenges, challenge human faith and the expertise of the challenged preachers. The responsibility of a preacher is to give an explanation and a true understanding of Islam so that the dawah brought is affordable, solve various collapse problems. Besides, the leadership also is a subject that has been discussed by many groups of people, especially academics, practitioners, and government officials or civil servants. They explore leadership styles or approaches that can be adopted in a variety of fields. However, finding the right one is not an easy task but must go through the practical experience of several cases and places. Common leadership practices introduced by Western scholars are applied in most countries, including in many Islamic countries. Somehow, Muslims ignore the theory of leadership based on the Islamic perspective that has been implemented previously by the Prophet Muhammad SAW and four major leaders called Caliph Rashidin who ruled the country region for 50 years. Everyone was protected, entertained, guided, represented and inspired by their leaders during the period. This is the concept and example of the best Islamic leadership sources from the Quran and Hadith that must be followed especially by all Muslims around the world. Moreover, leadership is in Islam is a trust. Often takes the form of a clear contract or pledge between a leader and his followers that he will try his best to guide them, to protect them, and treat them fairly and equitably. Thus, the focus of leadership in Islam is on integrity and justice. According to Causes and Posner 1995 was stated that an examination of the moral foundations of leadership from an Islamic perspective may provide some interesting insight into the field of leadership in general. Next is research background. According to the Islamic perspective, leadership is a trust that must be exercised preferably while the leader is responsible for managing, administering, and taking care of what is entrusted. Among those to be taken care of by a leader is to keep himself from committing evil deeds and fulfill the obligations and obligation of Islam well entrusted and fair. Leadership is a function important in Islam. An individual becomes a leader to self, husband and wife have their leadership duties in the household and family. The priest leading his prayer congregation as a for makmum, community leader and head of state leading the people as well as all his people. This shows leadership function exists in all level by level and assignments. Hence, the concept of successful leadership demands that Islam be inclusive. The concept of faith and pious deeds can be unveiled in each individual, in the family organization, society and country so that harmony between interests, the world, and the hereafter can be achieved. Among the features that should be possessed by each good leader are following instruction contained in the Quran and its example of leadership practiced by His Majesty Rasulullah SAW because he is a great example in all walks of life. Alright, next is about the problem statement. My topic of my problem statement is the effectiveness of Islamic leadership in Islam. Today's society, especially Muslim, is often overwhelmed by the materialism and luxury of the temporary world. This is because too many are present with less beneficial things to the point of forgetting about the life they went through. Leadership is a very important way of life in every Muslim. This is because we can not only lead the surrounding community but ourselves to be visionary and leaders. According to Beckham, 1999, he states that the operating principle that should be applied by Islamic leaders include administrating justice, fulfilling trust, preserving truth, perseverance in doing the right thing, and fulfilling promises. This is because with the principles applied in Islam, we can maintain, preserve the sanctity of Islam and can distinguish right and wrong. Moreover, leadership in Islam is instinct integrate that emphasizes the balance between the interests of spirit and body, between spiritual development with material development in order to ensure the well-being of human life in the world and in the hereafter. To achieve leadership goals, integrate that leaders must select from among those who most authorities and deserving because delegation of power to persons who do not worth and fit is treachery Allah and His Messenger. Alright, for the research question, what is the what is the Islamic perspective on leadership? Second is what is the moral base of Islamic leadership? Third is which of the two perspectives, meaning that Islamic scholars and Islamic youth leaders are significant in explaining the model of Islamic leadership in Islam. Next is about the research objective. First is to know true leadership from an Islamic perspective, to know, and the second is to know and be able to practice the moral principles of Islamic leadership in life, and last is about the to determine the best predictor perspective among the two perspectives towards Islamic leadership. Okay, next is about the literature review. Islam is a religion that governs all affairs including leadership. Referring to Ali 2009, he has said that leadership is an important subject that has been used to spread the teachings of Islam or Dawah as the most important instrument for the creation of an ideal society based on justice and compassion. The two elements are interrelated and as a key reference in leadership. Leaders must uphold and promote justice continuously as directed in the verse of the Quran, meaning that indeed Allah commands you to convey the message to its owner, and when you set the law between people, you shall set it with justice. Very good is what Allah advises you. Indeed, Allah is all hearing and Allah is all seeing. Surah An-Nisa, verse 4, ayah 58. Alright, next is about the defining leadership in Islam. According to Firdaus 2012, he has said that leadership in Islam is a process of guiding and motivating followers or members of the organization in an effort to achieve a clear goal, and a shared vision pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Leadership also, according to Islam, is based on the concept of the Caliph or the Khalifa. That is, every human being is a leader who is responsible for leading himself, his family, and the members under him. Hadith Bukhari, riwayat Bukhari, that you are all leaders and you will be asked about the people you lead. Besides, to lead, there are some things that are a challenge. The first is self-commitment. The second is the characteristic of his leadership. That is the extent to which his leadership meets the requirements of the Quran and Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, that will be able to help the leader achieve a high level of commitment. The next feature is a leader who is always deliberative. A leader, besides having to be willing to accept and seek advice or criticism, a successful leader is also always deliberative. Therefore, this deliberation means exchanging opinions and thoughts. If the deliberation goes well in the management, then there will be able an element of implicit appreciation from a leader to receive feedback and suggestion from subordinate staff. This gives a positive sign for Islamic leadership. A good leader is a leader who is loved by his subordinates. If the organization is led by a leader who is loved by his subordinates, then the organization will operate efficiently and smoothly. Next is about the moral basis of Islamic leadership. There are four things that we must know and we must have in ourselves. First is about the iman. Second is about taqwa, and third is about the Islam, and last is about the ihsan. Alright, I will tell you about the taqwa. Taqwa, according to Ulwan 1990, refers to a deep feeling of faith which is closely related to muraqabah, with that meaning self-care towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, khasiyah or fear of Allah from his wrath and torment, as well as the hope of obtaining his forgiveness and reward. Taqwa is also, according to Ilwan, that are a source to the noble qualities of a leader and are an effective tool in preventing human beings from committing evil, sin, and vice. Taqwa will also encourage the leader to be personal with noble morals and free from bad morals. The nature of taqwa is very important for Islamic leaders. Taqwa is mentioned there's as many as 257 in the Quran. Taqwa is a deep sense of responsibility to oneself towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.